Greetings, my friends, and welcome back to Knights of the Round, your go-to channel for D&D campaigns, complete with advice and suggestions to enhance your dungeon mastering skills. I'm your host, Mythos. In our last video, we concluded our journey through Zorzula's Rest with a climactic showdown against Ruxithid the Chosen, the formidable leader of the Sawplease goblins. Now your players are in for a mix of good and bad news. The good news, they've ascended to level 8. The bad news, the aftermath of the boss battle yields no loot for your players, which, in my humble opinion, is a bit of a letdown. A suggestion to remedy this, consider placing a treasure chest in Ruxithid's war room, filled with loot generated from a treasure generator. Of course, you might have something more specific in mind for them to discover. The choice is yours. Zorzula's Rest, at this point, boasts perhaps the most treasure I've ever seen in a dungeon of this stage, and depending on your players' acumen and skills, they likely walked away with a substantial haul. If you're new to this series, check out the link in the description for the first video and a complete tally of potential treasure. Moving on, after your players emerge victorious against Ruxithid, a disconcerting truth surfaces. Ruxithid was but a puppet, manipulated by creatures and monsters far mightier than him. Overlords with sinister designs, seeking the obelisk pieces to impose a dreadful fate upon the town and its people. Your character should have stumbled upon Ruxithid's map in his war room, detailing the locations of the remaining obelisk pieces. Feel free to hand it out as a player handout. While some townspeople were rescued, many more are still missing, potentially held captive at these locations. To safeguard Phandalin and its residents, your players must secure the remaining obelisk shards before the overlords can seize them. Throughout this quest, players should unravel more about the looming threat over Phandalin. Upon their return, Townmaster Harbin Wester will reward your characters for their valor against the goblins and their efforts in rescuing the townsfolk. However, your characters will also realize that Phandalin isn't the carefree town they remember. Changes have occurred during their absence, and how these changes manifest is entirely in your hands. Phandalin under a blighted sun. I know some of you, masters at your craft, have this well in hand, but for the novice of DM storytelling and world building, may need a bit more help. Here are some suggestions to help you paint a more immersive picture for your players. A shimmering gray. Don't just describe the familiar buildings and streets. Paint a picture of Phandalin bathed in an unnatural, unsettling gray light. The sun seems pale and distant, casting long, twisted shadows. A stench in the air. Introduce a subtle yet pervasive metallic tang that hangs heavy in the air. It pricks at the back of the throat and leaves a sour taste on the tongue, a constant reminder of the far realm's taint. Distrustful glances. The townsfolk no longer greet returning heroes with warmth. Instead, they cast wary glances. Whispers follow the party's movements, and some even avoid eye contact altogether. Scarcity and suspicion. Supplies are limited and overpriced. Shopkeepers are gruff and hesitant, questioning the party's intentions and motives. Some refuse to trade with them altogether, fearing contamination from their encounter with the far realm. Ghosts of laughter. At the Stonehill Inn, the jovial atmosphere is gone. Laughter feels forced, conversations hushed, and a sense of dread hangs heavy in the air. Strange shadows flicker in the corners, and unsettling echoes of past merriment seem to whisper from the walls. Disturbing dreams. If the players rest at the inn, their dreams become vivid and unsettling. They see twisted landscapes, hear whispers in an unknown tongue, and encounter warped reflections of themselves or loved ones. These dreams might offer cryptic clues or foreshadow future events. Playing with senses. Describe sounds you wouldn't hear before. A low rhythmic hum pulsating from the direction of the obelisk, the rasping whispers of twisted vegetation, the unsettling scuttling of unseen creatures in the alleyways. Let details unsettle. Describe a normally familiar object, a chipped mug, a faded tapestry, but highlight something subtly wrong. A wrong angle, an uncanny sheen, a whisper of movement where there shouldn't be. Focus on emotions. Don't just describe actions and events. Convey the growing fear, paranoia, and unease of the townsfolk. Let your players feel the weight of the oppressive atmosphere and the growing sense that something is terribly wrong. If you're interested, I have created a scene with Town Master Harbin Wester, that may help set the scene for your player's return to the village. The campaign does not specify one, but your player characters need to be rewarded. And it does make sense that Townmaster Harbin Wester is in a unique position to relay how the village has fared in your absence. This is an example of one such idea, and since the AI doesn't do voice inflection or emotion very well, Townmaster Harbin Wester's voice in this next segment has been done by yours truly. As the party pushes open the creaking door of Townmaster Wester's office, a shaft of pale light pierces the gloom, illuminating dust motes dancing in the still air. Harbin Wester sits hunched over his desk, his once sharp features etched with worry lines deeper than any mineshaft. Gone is the smug self-assurance he presented in their last meeting, replaced by a gaunt, haunted visage. He looks up, eyes flitting nervously across the party's faces, before settling on a flicker of a smile.
Heroes of Phandalin,
He rasps, his voice hoarse like parchment crackling in a forgotten library.
returned from the jaws of darkness, bearing Phandalin's heart intact.
He pushes himself up, the chair groaning in protest, and extends a trembling hand.
Words cannot express the debt we owe you. The villagers safe, the Red Brand scourge extinguished. You've brought solace in this time of...
The smile cracks, then shatters entirely. His grip tightens on the offered hand, knuckles bone white. His eyes dart to the window, then back to the party, their depths swirling with a fear far greater than any goblin threat.
But heroes,
He whispers, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial hiss.
Phandalin isn't the same. A sickness crawls in from the darkness, twisting the land, gnawing at the minds of men. Whispers in the night, shadows that stalk the sunlit streets. Something has woken in the whispering caverns, something ancient and hungry.
He steps closer, his breath hot on the players' faces.
The crops wither, livestock twists into unnatural shapes, and madness creeps in through the cracks of reason. Even the sun seems wrong, veiled in a sickly gray luminescence.
He throws his hands up in despair, the meager candlelight catching the tremor in his fingers.
I tried, heroes. I tried to hold the town together, to keep hope alive. But the whispers grow louder, the shadows press closer, and fear burrows deep into the heart of Phandalin.
He sinks back into his chair, defeated.
You saved us from the goblins, yes. But can you save us from this?
The silence that follows is thick with the stench of decay and the cloying whisper of unseen dread. The air feels stagnant, heavy with the weight of Harbin's unspoken plea. As the party steps out of the office, the familiar streets of Phandalin seem warped, the shadows deeper, the smiles of children forced. The heroes of Phandalin have returned, but the fight for their town has just begun. More to come. A heartfelt thank you to any of you out there who are supporting the channel with a like, comment, and subscription. It's such a small thing, but it really helps me closer to reaching my goals. I know this was a smaller video than some of you may have been expecting, but coming out with content faster, even if it is on a smaller scale, feels good. On the next video, we will be getting some much-needed guidance from Gwyn Orsong, along with the addition of 2 side quests, and the first one will be supplying your player characters with a much-needed base of operations. Until then, stay legendary, and may the odds ever be in your favor.